All right, so welcome to the deep dive. And today we're going back in time to explore this fascinating story of Norsk Data. And, you sent over some excerpts from a book about them. And I have to say, wow, what a story.
It really is. Yeah. This Norwegian company making waves in the tech world, even,
Catching the eye
of giants like IBM.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's 1967. This little company from Norway. I mean, not exactly known as like the Silicon Valley of the time. Yeah. But they're building computers that are getting international recognition. What were they doing differently?
Well, one of the key things was their focus on real-time computing, which wasn't as prevalent back then. So they were building machines, specifically designed for complex tasks like, ship automation.
And Zarya bread,
and, and power grid regulation.
And that's how they got that contract with CERN. I mean, beating out IBM and all these other major players. I mean, that had to be a turning point for them.
Absolutely, yeah. It really solidified their reputation as a company that could deliver on these complex, cutting-edge projects. And what's interesting is that they actively sought out these collaborations with universities and research institutions and tailoring their systems to meet specific needs. I mean, they weren't just, selling a product. They were forming partnerships.
So instead of trying to be everything to everyone, they found a niche and really excelled in it. But their success wasn't just about the tech, was it? I mean, the book describes this almost utopian work environment, this do what's right philosophy. What was it about their culture that fostered such innovation?
It's a great question. Yeah, their culture was really remarkably flat and autonomous. I mean, employees had a high degree of freedom. We're really encouraged to take ownership. The book even talks about employees building furniture and break rooms in their spare time just to, make their workspace better.
Wow. Talk about dedication, right? It sounds like they really believed in the company and its mission.
Exactly. And that sense of ownership was further reinforced by their company-wide stock ownership program. So literally everyone had a stake in the company's success.
But that same program would later become a vulnerability, especially after the stock market crash of '87. It's a reminder that even the most well-intentioned initiatives can have, unintended consequences.
Yeah.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, back in those early days, I mean, things were booming for Norsk Data.
They were. And their unique approach to software also played a significant role. So while they started with hardware, they gradually shifted towards developing software solutions. And one of their most notable successes was Nortext.
Right, Nortext. The book mentions that this was a game changer for the newspaper industry. What made it so revolutionary?
So Nortext was a specialized system designed for typesetting and layout, and it really streamlined the entire newspaper production process. It was a perfect example of a vertical solution, tailored software for specific industry.
Yeah, it sounds like they had this knack for identifying these niche markets and delivering exactly what those customers needed.
Yeah.
That seems like a valuable lesson for companies today, especially in a tech landscape.
Yeah.
That's becoming increasingly specialized.
Absolutely, yeah. Focusing on a specific sector. Yeah. And, becoming experts in its needs can be a powerful strategy. Now, while Nortext was a significant success, it also highlights a potential missed opportunity for Norsk Data. So they could have leveraged this model, this vertical solution approach, in other industries.
So you're saying they could have become the go-to solution provider for, say, the finance industry or healthcare by developing similar tailored software.
Precisely. They had the technical expertise and the innovative spirit, but perhaps they didn't fully capitalize on the potential of this approach.
Maybe their success with their core offerings and their initial resistance to the whole emerging trend of open standards made them somewhat complacent.
That's certainly a possibility. Yeah, their proprietary systems were working well for them, especially within their established niche. Yeah. And it's understandable that they might have been hesitant to embrace new technologies that could, potentially disrupt their existing business model.
It's like that classic innovator's dilemma, right? Where you're so successful with your current model that you're hesitant to change, even when you kind of see the writing on the wall.
Exactly. And in Norsk Data's case, the writing on the wall was getting bigger and bolder with the rise of open standards like UNIX and the emergence of
the personal computer.
And their initial response to these trends was, let's just say, not enthusiastic.
Indeed, they believed their proprietary systems were superior and would prevail, but the market was demanding something different, something more, open and interoperable. And this resistance to change would ultimately prove to be a significant turning point in their story. It's fascinating how their, deep-rooted belief in
around systems,
which had been a strength for so long, ultimately became a weakness in the face of, a shifting technological landscape. Do you think their unique company culture, with its emphasis on individual initiative and freedom, played a role in this resistance?
That's a great question, and one that's worth exploring further.
Yeah, while their decentralized approach did foster, creativity and innovation, it also might have made it difficult to reach a consensus and make, swift, decisive changes when they were most needed.
So it seems like there were already cracks appearing in the foundation, even as Norsk Data continued to experience success on the surface.
Yes, these cracks would only widen as the tech world entered a period of rapid transformation, a period that would ultimately test the limits of Norsk Data's adaptability and resilience.
Yeah, it's interesting how their decentralized structure, which worked so well in the early days, might have actually hindered their ability to adapt to these new market demands. That's a key insight. Here, their do what feels right philosophy, while empowering, could also lead to a lack of cohesive direction, especially when faced with a rapidly evolving industry.
Yeah, and we see this playing out in their international expansion as well, right? I mean, the book mentions, they had early success in Scandinavia.
Yeah.
And parts of Europe.
Yeah.
But they struggled to replicate that success
Yeah.
in other markets like Germany, for example.
Yes, their approach to international expansion kind of mirrored their internal structure.
Yeah.
Very decentralized. So each country subsidiary had a lot of autonomy, which could be both a strength and a weakness.
Right. So on the one hand, it allows for flexibility and local adaptation. But on the other hand, it can lead to inconsistencies in marketing and sales and even product development across different regions. It's like they were trying to be this global company while still operating.
Like a collection of independent units.
Exactly. And that lack of a unified global strategy might have hindered their ability to compete with
larger, more centralized competitors who were emerging at the time.
It also makes me wonder about the cultural aspect. Could their Norwegian way of doing things, which was so ingrained in their company culture, have been a barrier in certain markets?
That's a really interesting point. The book kind of hints at this, suggesting that their informal, consensus-driven approach, might not have resonated in cultures that value a more hierarchical, top-down style.
It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you can force it, but it's not going to be a smooth fit.
Precisely. And their anti-marketing stance, which focused on technical excellence over persuasive salesmanship, might have been a disadvantage in markets where a more assertive approach was expected.
So it seems like a certain degree of cultural sensitivity and adaptation is crucial for any company looking to succeed on a global scale. You can't just assume that what works in one market will automatically translate to another.
Absolutely. And that's a lesson that's still relevant for businesses today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Globalization is not just about selling your products in different countries. It's about understanding and respecting cultural nuances and tailoring your approach accordingly.
All right. So we've talked about their decentralized structure, their approach to international expansion, and how these factors might have made them less adaptable.
You too?
To,
changing tech landscape. But let's zoom back in on their core business. What were some of the specific challenges they faced with their product strategy as the industry evolved?
Well, as we touched on earlier, their initial resistance to open standards was a major hurdle. And while they eventually did make the shift, it was a delayed and somewhat reluctant one. And this hesitation cost them valuable time and market share.
And I imagine it also caused some friction with their existing customer base. Who had invested in proprietary systems. Absolutely. Yeah, some customers felt betrayed by the shift, seeing it as a departure from Norsk Data's commitment to their existing technology. It highlights the delicate balance that companies face when needing to embrace new technologies while maintaining relationships with customers who are still reliant on older systems.
It's a tough situation, and there's no easy answer, but perhaps a more proactive approach to communicating their strategy and roadmap.
Okay.
As well as, providing support for customers transitioning to open systems. I could have mitigated some of the negative fallout.
I agree. Yeah, transparency and clear communication are crucial in those situations. Now, beyond the issue of open standards is also the question of their product portfolio and whether they were effectively diversifying and innovating to stay ahead of the curve.
Right, because sticking with what worked in the past isn't really a recipe for long-term success in the tech world. So should they have any notable product developments or breakthroughs in the 1980s, aside from their somewhat belated embrace?
Open standards. They did attempt to enter the 32-bit mini computer market with their ND 500 machine, hoping to compete with, the likes of Digital Equipment Corporation.
But as we discussed earlier, the ND 500 project was plagued with delays and technical challenges. It seems like they were struggling to keep up.
Rapid pace of innovation in the industry.
Yes, and this points to another potential factor in their decline, execution. So while they had a reputation...
On technical excellence, it seems like they might have faltered when it came to bringing complex projects to market efficiently and effectively.
So it's not just about having brilliant ideas. It's about being able to translate those ideas to successful products in a timely manner, especially in an industry where speed and agility are becoming increasingly important.
Precisely. And this is where we start to see how internal factors, like their decentralized structure, and perhaps a lack of decisive leadership, might have compounded the external challenges they were facing from a rapidly changing market.
It's like a snowball effect, right? One small misstep can lead to another. And before you know it, you're facing a mountain of challenges.
And for Norsk Data?
This mountain was about to get even steeper. With the arrival of Onbooth.
A major economic shock.
Yes, Brit's stock market crash of 87 was a devastating blow. Not just for Norsk Data, but for countless companies around the world.
And for Norsk Data, it was particularly painful given their stock ownership program. I mean, many of their employees saw their savings decimated almost overnight.
Exactly. It was a It's a tragic turn of events. And it significantly weakened their financial position at a time when they were already facing multiple challenges. So we're starting to see how a confluence of factors, both internal and external, began to converge in the late 1980s, creating a perfect storm that would ultimately lead to Norsk Data's downfall. So it's almost like they were hit by this 1-2 punch, First with the technological shifts, then with this major economic downturn. So as they entered the 1990s, what steps did they take to try to turn things around? Did they make any significant changes to their strategy or
structure? They did make attempts to restructure. They brought in a new CEO with a strong marketing background, hoping to, revitalize their brand and better communicate the value of their solutions. And they also made further efforts to embrace those open standards and develop new products for emerging markets.
So they were recognizing the need to adapt and evolve, or was it too little too late?
Unfortunately, it seems that way, yeah. The company continued to struggle financially. They were forced to make significant layoffs, which further eroded, their once vibrant culture.
It's heartbreaking to think about, those employees who had poured their hearts and souls into the company only to see it falter. It's a stark reminder that even the most innovative companies with the most dedicated employees are not immune to the forces of, change and disruption.
It's a valuable lesson, and one that resonates even today. The tech industry is constantly evolving, and companies need to be agile and adaptable to survive. But even with the best intentions and efforts, sometimes those external factors can create insurmountable challenges.
So looking back at Norsk Data's journey, what do you think were the most critical factors that contributed to their
downfall? I'd say it was a combination of things. Their initial resistance. The open standard kind of put them on the back foot, and they struggled to fully catch up. And the decentralized structure, while fostering creativity, might have hampered their ability to make those decisive strategic shifts. And their international expansion, while ambitious, lacked a cohesive global strategy. And then, of course, the stock market crash dealt them a severe financial blow.
It's interesting how these different factors, both internal and external, intertwined and ultimately led to their demise. It almost feels like a Greek tragedy. This brilliant, innovative company brought down by
a series of
missteps and unfortunate circumstances.
Certainly an element.
A tragedy to their story. But it's also important to remember their achievements. For a time, they were a true force in the tech world, proving that a company, that soup company from a pole, a small country like Norway, could compete on the pole, on global stage. And their legacy lives on. and the many talented individuals who worked there and went on to contribute to the tech industry in various ways. Absolutely, their story is not just a cautionary tale. It's also a testament to the power of innovation,
the importance of
adaptability,
and the enduring impact that a company can have on its employees and the wider industry.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, and for anyone listening, or works in tech, or any industry for that matter, Norsk Data's journey provides those valuable lessons.
Now, the importance of embracing change, staying focused, and building a resilient organization.
And it reminds us that success is not a guarantee. It's something that needs to be constantly earned and re-earned through adaptability, foresight, and a willingness to evolve.
Well said. Yeah, their story is a reminder that in the world of technology, and perhaps in life in general, the only constant is change.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Norsk Data.